It's time for Jazz Chords, boys and girls. Strap in. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. Zac Wilson presents the Fundamental Jazz Chords. Welcome back to another edition of Zac Wilson Presents Guitar. Today we're going to learn 4 advanced chord types, 3 different ways to play each one of them, and how to find them quickly in the midst of a song. Oftentimes players refer to these as jazz chords because nowadays jazz music is where you most often find them being played. However, you will find them being used throughout all forms of music, from country to rock and so on. Well, some of these are bar chords. If you don't know how to make a bar chord, please check out my video on bar chords in the Zac Wilson channel on YouTube. If you've already studied your open chords, there's also a video for that, you would know that major and minor are the 2 basic fundamental chord types. Major and minor chords are made with 3 notes: a root, some kind of third, be it a major third or minor third, and a perfect fifth. These chords I'm about to show you have a 4th note added to them, some type of harmony 7th note. It could be a major 7 note, which is a half step behind the root. It could be a dominant 7, known as just a 7, which is a whole step behind the root. We're going to be learning the 4 chords of major 7, 7 or dominant 7, minor 7, and then a minor 7 with a flatted 5th, often called half diminished. While there are many different ways with inversions and voicings to make these 4-note chords, we're going to approach them from a more natural position, where the root note happens deeply in the bass. So there are 3 different approaches to each of these chords. We could have the root on the big E string, the A string, or the D string. Throughout this video, I will demonstrate how the chord is made, I'll play it so you can hear what it's supposed to sound like, and then I'll place on the screen a still photo of my hand playing the chord. When the close-up picture appears, I would advise you to go ahead and pause the video and take a good look at where the fingers are at and try to make it yourself before continuing on. Let's get started. Using the root on the big E string, we will start on this G note on the 3rd fret, and we'll make a major 7 chord. A major 7 has a root, major 3rd, perfect 5th, and a major 7. The fingers are as follows. Index finger on the bass string. Your 2nd finger will go all the way down to the B string. Your 3rd and 4th fingers will get their own fret out in front, taking over the 2 middle strings, the D and G strings of the guitar. It'll sound something like this. You'll notice that the A string was muted. That's because the fingerprint of this 1st finger is resting lightly on the A string. It's not pushing it down, creating a note. It's not avoiding it, leaving the open string. It's resting on it, giving a muted sound. This theme will carry throughout a great many of these chords. Here's what it sounds like. Notice we're only making sound with the notes that the fingers are pushing. That high E string is not making a sound either. Check out this close-up and try it for yourself. Don't forget to pause the video. Okay, let's go ahead and try and change this major 7 chord to a dominant 7 chord. It's still going to have a root, major 3rd, and perfect 5th, but that major 7 is going to drop a half step or 1 fret on your guitar to become a dominant 7. In this chord shape, it's going to be your ring finger on the D string that needs to drop 1 fret. To make that happen, I'm going to have to readjust my fingers. I'll let my middle finger come up and take over that D string in the new fret. The ring finger will replace the middle finger on the B string, so I have 3 fingers all in the same fret, skipping every other string. And then the pinky sneaks up inside in its very own fret. It sounds like this, again, with a muted string. Don't forget to pause the video on the still photo and try it for yourself. So let's go ahead and change this dominant 7 now to a minor 7. In this case, we need to change the third from a major third to a minor third, dropping it a half step in pitch, or 1 fret. It'll maintain the root and perfect fifth, as well as that dominant 7 from the previous chord. To do this, the pinky finger note is going to join the other 3 all inside the same fret. Now, while you could try to squeeze all 4 fingers into the same fret, looking something like this, this wouldn't be very advantageous for someone with large fingers, such as myself, trying to play higher up on the neck of the guitar. So what we do is we just use 2 fingers with a sort of bar approach. We're going to go ahead and use our Spider-Man fingers, the 2 that are coming back here. I'm going to use my ring finger and I'm going to lay it across the 3 notes on the D, G, and B strings, as it's barring those 3 notes. This allows my taller finger, the middle finger, to stretch way high and hit the bass note while simultaneously muting that A string. Again, notice how we're not touching the high E string. Go ahead and give this one a try. So now we're going to take this minor 7 and give it a flatted fifth. The fifth is the note on the B string, and it needs to drop a half step or 1 fret behind. To do this, we need to reorganize all of our fingers. We're going to allow our middle finger to stay on the root note and the bass. Our 2 little fingers will take over the middle of the guitar, the D and G strings, all sharing that same fret still. But this will allow now for our first finger to sneak in behind on the B string in the previous fret, in this case the 2nd fret. And with the A string still muted, on all of these it sounds like this. Now most people think that the half diminished chord sounds a little yucky. But in context within a song, it can sound absolutely wonderful. So that's all of them played with the root on the big E string. Again, that was major 7 to a dominant 7 to a minor 7 to a minor 7 with a flatted fifth, or half diminished. Well now, what if we want to play these same chord types, but in a different area of the guitar? We could simply change our root note to starting on the A string instead. This will change all of the hand shapes, and we'll walk them down respectively. Most of these are bar chords. Let's give it a try. Using our bar on the A string, this C note here in the 2nd fret, and barring all the strings, we will take the other fingers to create major 7. The ring finger touches the perfect fifth, 2 frets over and 1 string down. The middle finger then below that, in between on the G string, and the pinky finger now on the B string in this 5th fret here. So go ahead and hit all 5 strings from the A down. Check out the photo, pause it, and give it a try. So now that we've tried major 7, just like before, we need to drop that 7th a half step to get dominant 7, or also called 7. All we have to do for this is simply take this major 7 shape and lift our middle finger off of the guitar, allowing that note on that string to drop to the bar note. Make sure you've got a flat bar so that that string is being heard. So now we've had our dominant 7, and it's time to change that major third to a minor third to get minor 7. Our pinky finger in this example is the major third note. So we're going to take our middle finger on the B string, place it 1 fret behind, lift the pinky off, and that flattens that note, and we get a sad sound. Go ahead and give it a try with the picture. Okay, so now it's time to change this minor 7 chord to a minor 7 with a flatted fifth, which we also call half diminished. The problem with keeping a bar is that the perfect fifth at the ring finger is duplicated an octave higher with the bar finger on the high E string. We have to change them both or get rid of one of them. It's just easier to change one and lose the other. So we're going to keep our root. We're going to put our second finger in the same fret as our root, but skipping a string to the G string. We're going to let our ring finger take over its own fret next to it on the D string. And our pinky finger in the same fret as our ring finger will skip a string as well, making a very interesting shape and only a 4-note, 4-string chord. Go ahead and check out the photo. Take a good look where the fingers are at. Pause the video and give it a try. So that was all the roots on the A string. We had the bar chord with major 7, simply lifting the middle finger off to get dominant 7 or 7, using that middle finger to replace the pinky finger on a different fret but same string to get minor 7, and reorganizing all the fingers to get half diminished or minor 7 flat 5. Before we move on to roots on the D string, there is another way to play that dominant 7 chord. The dominant 7, as you remember, was the one where it was major 7, remove the middle finger. Well, off of this note, this bass note here, if we put our ring finger on that bass note and make what looks like a C chord from our open chords video, there's an open string, the G string. If we take our pinky and place it on that G string in the same fret as our root finger and then just play those 4 notes, this is also a dominant 7 chord. So when faced with a dominant 7, we could choose to play it this way or this way with a bar. Slightly different voicing, but same result. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the D string notes. If I put my root on the D string now, it's a very short bar but still a bar chord. We're going to go ahead and just take our third finger and bar it across the other 3 strings. So we're barring the first 3 little strings with our ring finger and just reaching up and touching the D string with our first finger. This is major 7. Give it a try. Now to change the major 7 to a dominant 7, we need the middle note, the B string note, to drop a half step from major 7 to dominant 7. So you're going to notice that this one looks and feels just like major 7 up on the previous string set. But because of the way the guitar is tuned, when we lower it into these high-pitched strings, it changes the relationships of the notes. So what now looks and feels like a previous major 7 is actually going to sound like a dominant 7. Take a look at the photo and give it a try. So now let's change this dominant 7 to a minor 7. What we're going to need to do is readjust our fingers because we need this pinky finger note to drop a half step. But unless you're a contortionist, there's really no way to get that finger to get over to that note. So we're going to let the pinky replace the ring finger and then let the ring finger go get that note. The sad minor 7. So now it's time for minor 7 flat 5, the half diminished chord. This one's very easy. It's very similar to that major 7 we did before with the barred finger, but we're just going to slide it right next door so there's no empty fret. Actually makes for a very easy and fun chord change from major 7 to half diminished, just sliding one finger. Go ahead and check out the half diminished with the photo and then come back. Well, let's go ahead and take a listen to each of the chords in relationship to themselves and each other so that we can notice that we have a lot of options when we're looking at a song that calls for a particular chord. I'm going to use C as my root. C major 7. There's a C on the E string up here, and the major 7 sounds like this. Go to the C on the A string and make the other C major 7 shape. Notice it sounds the same. Go to the C on the D string and you're going to notice that it's the same chord but an octave higher in pitch. If we do the same thing with dominant 7 off that C, the same thing occurs. If we go minor 7, or minor 7 with a flatted 5th, so now when you see a particular chord, you have options. Well, I hope these shapes help you out. Feel free to watch the video as much as you need, pause over the pictures, and make your fingers match the photos. Until next time, keep rocking. Please take a moment to press the like button, leave a comment, and share this video with a friend.